The price of silver has been slammed over the last 24 hours or so, going from, well, 27.80 down to about 26.20 at the time of recording. So what does this mean? Is this a buying opportunity, an overreaction by markets, or actually is silver heading back to $20 an ounce? Lots of volatility in markets over the last 24 hours, less than 24 hours. I'll talk about why in a second, but I thought, well, let's take a look at silver. You can see the move here on the daily chart. So a couple of days ago was trading up near 28. Today we've traded almost as low as 26, so back to levels seen at the beginning of May. And I thought it'd be an interesting one to do an update on. It can be sometimes a dull market, a lot of time a dull market, and then have these sparks of volatility, but volatility can mean opportunity. So as usual in this video, I'll talk about what's been going on over the last 24 hours, what to watch out for in silver, then we'll come back onto this and see if there's a trade to do. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd have a catch up with silver given the burst of volatility we've seen over the last 24 hours. So as usual in this video, talk a bit about what's been happening with silver, the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform and see if there's a trade to do down here. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. And of course, every Friday at 2:30, we now do these live streams. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel with the alarm bell clicked, you get a notification off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Right, let's get into it and see what's been happening with silver. So just a recap of the year so far, it's been a pretty volatile year. We've seen the price range from as low as $24 to as high briefly as $30. So we've seen some big swings in silver so far this year. We had seen it gaining ground in recent months. I think, in common with perhaps some other industrial metals on expectations of demand picking up as lockdowns get eased around the world because of the coronavirus, and industrial activity gets somewhere back near normal. But despite all that, the price has been hit really hard this week. It's gone from a high of about $28 to be trading pretty near $26 at the time of recording. And that move happened pretty quickly. We've seen volatility in lots of markets over the last 24 hours, and it's following the latest Federal Reserve meeting, the US Federal Reserve, the American central bank, where no interest rates were changed, but the expectation of when rates are going to start going up has been brought forward. And markets are now expecting rates to start going up sometime early in 2023, a bit earlier than expected. So we've seen lots of markets get hit. The US dollar has surged on the news. Of course, higher rates or the expectation of rates normally helps that country's currency. And as we know, if we see a strong US dollar, traditionally that will impact the prices of gold and silver. So the question as usual, when we see a big move like this, is it a knee-jerk overreaction by markets and it's actually an opportunity? Or is it the change or the start of a change in broader sentiment? And the latest move down is just the first leg of even further weakness to come. Let's talk about the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform and see if there's a trade to do. So I think the most immediate resistance on the upside is up around $28.25, that sort of level. The level to watch on the downside, and the one I'm going to use for the trade here, I think, at the most recent major low off the daily charts, coming in around $25.60. So as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's jump back onto the chart and see if there's a trade to do. So let's have a look at silver in a bit more detail. I've got here, we're still on the daily chart here, going back to the beginning of August last year. So we've got, 10 months worth of trading on silver. And you can see why. I often say, considering what other markets have done since the summer of last year, it's been something of a boring market. Yes, there's plenty of days when we have some crazy volatility, the last couple of days being a good example of that. But overall, it's pretty directionless. It struggles in the sort of 29 to 30 zone when it gets knocked back. If we get knocked back to sort of the 22, 23 area, we see the buyers come back out. But we did have this good trend off the April lows that was chugging along and started stalling at the end of May and clearly has been really knocked over the last couple of days. But I do wonder, if this is an opportunity. We're going to have a look at the shorter term chart, I think, to get a handle on this. But looking at where we are now, looking at the RSI, for example, down here, the RSI, not surprisingly, given the size of the move down, has trading into the oversold area. So again, a suggestion that perhaps the weakness is getting a bit overdone down here. But as I always say, in strong trending markets, as we've seen over the last few days, RSIs can give us a signal far too early. The last time we had a buy signal off the RSI was down here at the end of March. That did pretty well, down around $24 an ounce. So it'll be interesting to see how this oversold RSI situation plays out. But probably what I want to look at is the price action here. So we've got a load of support coming in from mid-April, around $25.60. So you can see it here, 19th of April, and this whole band that ran through to the 3rd of May. So a good couple of weeks where we saw good support for silver. I suppose you could say at a push, if you were going to pick up on a trend, take it off the December lows, and it looks something like that with support coming in around 25. But we didn't have a higher high on this latest move higher into the end of May. So I think that is, although it might look nice, something of a questionable trend at the moment. So the trend I want to focus on is the short term from late March. So let's zoom things in to an hourly chart. So here's that trend off those late March lows. Did a pretty good job on the way up. It fell out of the trend line beginning of June. It looked like it was perhaps going to try and form a new trend, but that has really gone out of the window over the last couple of days, and we are where we are now. So I think it's a really difficult one. I think whenever I do these videos, I always want to place a trade because I think it makes the videos a lot more interesting. I think probably the better approach now would be to sit on our hands for a couple of days and see if we see some sort of stability coming in. Because what I would be watching is this whole area, around ahead of $25.50. It was good support on the way up. We've seen the price knocked a couple of dollars over the last few days. Perhaps we'll see some sort of stability coming in. At the moment, I'd be taking the view, or looking to buy now is taking the view that the market has overreacted. But I'd rather, if it was my money, not buy today, but perhaps give it a couple of days and see if things calm down. But as I say, in these videos, we always like to get a trade on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set a trade up. And I'm going to put an order in to buy the trade if we see it, to buy silver, if we see it squeeze a lot lower. I'm going to use $25.50 as my reference point for the stop. And I'm going to give it a bit of wiggle room because it is clearly a bit of a volatile market at the moment. And I'm going to put my stop in, let's say $25 is where I'm going to go on a stop for silver. The price at the moment is trading at $26.34, as you can see. I'm going to put an order in to buy at 26. So if we get it popping a bit lower, the order will get filled, buying at 26 with a stop at 25. It's a pretty tight stop compared to what we normally do on these videos. But I think given the volatility, given the fact we're looking at a short-term chart, and if we see it bust through 25, I think we could see even more pressure. But let's set that trade up. All right, we're ready to go. So the price to buy now is about 26.32. I'm going to be a buyer of 350 ounces if the price gets to 26. And you can see it there on the chart, the order sitting there at 26. If that order gets filled, put a stop loss in place at 25. So about $1 away. But the other side of that, what I think is important support from the second half of April. And it's for our usual risk of £250, the normal risk we place on these trades. Let's send the limit order in. That's it, the order's placed. The order's sitting there now to buy 350 at 26 with the stop attached if the order gets filled. I think if we do break below these lows at 25.50, the risk is that it sells off, even deeper, and we start looking at perhaps early April levels down at 24.50. But I think it's going to be really interesting to watch down here because this was such a floor for the price in the short term on the way up. Do we see the same thing happen again? So I need a bit more weakness from here to get filled. Let's see how it plays out over the next day or so. That's it for the update in silver. We'll see how it works out. We'll come back to it in a couple of weeks' time. We'll take a look at it at the live streams on Friday. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.